Hi everyone, Alex from Bim is here, and in this week's edition of Bim Pulse, we're going to talk about our upcoming roadmap update for 2021, the new mobile node feature that will be released next week, and also we will answer some of the questions that we were asked during our recent AMA with CryptoFund community. So let's get started. Let's start with the roadmap update. As we have already mentioned, we have big plans for the upcoming year 2021. And most of it has to do with our BIMX, which is the new version of BIM blockchain that will include smart contracts, the virtual machine to run them, and a lot of new functionality. But before that, we would like to complete our current Eager Electron 5.x, and we will have 2 more releases in this version. The 5.2 mobile wallet will be released this week, and it will include mobile node, which I will talk a little bit more about today. And the next release will be 5.3 that will include atomic swaps with Ethereum and also a couple of stablecoins, USDT, DAI, and also wrapped Bitcoin, so that you will be able to swap them for BIM using our atomic swap marketplace. Once we have completed these 2 releases in Q1 this year, we will have a hard fork, which will include all of the BIMX functionality that is currently being developed and tested. And obviously this will include BIM virtual machine that will run WebAssembly and also wallet support for multiple assets. And of course, we're also working on decentralized bridges with Ethereum and Polkadot, and we will discuss more of that later in the year and provide more details about our development. Right now, we're working on organizing our roadmap and basically detailing it and to make it as clear as possible what we're doing during these first months of 2021. And we hope that in the next couple of weeks, we will publish the Medium article and of course officially release our roadmap update that will include all the details and all the dates for these developments. Now let's talk about our next release, which is the 5.2 mobile node. What is it and why do you need it? So if you are used to BIM desktop wallet, you know that the recommended mode is to run the built-in integrated node. And when you run this configuration, you basically receive all the information to the node directly from the blockchain. And from there, the wallet receives events that allow you to monitor your UTXOs on the blockchain and see all the transactions that belong to you and all the operations that occur directly from the blockchain. This, however, requires the ability to download the entire blockchain into the node, which can be quite time-consuming and also weighs a lot in terms of the amount of data that you need to download. So for a while, BIM mobile wallet worked differently. Instead of downloading the information from the blockchain, we received all the information from the SBBS, which is the secure messaging system that allows the wallets to communicate and create transactions together. And that meant a couple of limitations. First of all, if you were running this mobile wallet on the same seed as some other wallet, it might get out of sync because not all the SBBS messages that were received by another wallet were also received by your mobile wallet. And that meant that not all blockchain events could be detected. Also, with the addition of offline and max privacy transactions during the last hard fork, there are no SBBS messages sent when you are sending something offline or using the max privacy, and thus mobile wallets could not support this functionality. So what we have decided to do is to move part of the node functionality inside the wallet, namely the ability to download blocks and analyze and verify them. However, we did not include the ability to redistribute blocks as we thought that it might be redundant for the mobile wallet users at that time to download and send vast amounts of information all the time. This might be too hard for mobile devices and also will consume a lot of bandwidth. So we have only moved the part of the functionality that can analyze the blocks. And of course, it still takes time to download them. However, they are not stored on the devices. Instead, just the events are transformed into virtual transactions and then recorded in the wallet, So now you no longer have this limitation that you need to be either connected to your own node in order to receive all of this information. You can just be connected to any remote node, and you will be able, by switching on this mobile node function, to download and analyze and verify all the blocks using your mobile device directly. So this allows you to receive offline and regular Mimblewimble transactions as well as max privacy transactions directly using your mobile phone. And we think it will be a nice addition and make our mobile wallets more usable. And of course, you will also get the rescan function that will allow you to resynchronize the entire blockchain and basically make your wallet in sync with any other wallet you're using, even if you're using the same seed on several devices, which was a severe limitation at the beginning of our mobile wallets. So now let's talk about some of the questions that we were asked during the recent AMA we had with the crypto fund community. You know, whenever there is this part of the AMA where people are asking questions, usually all floodgates are open, and it was the case in this AMA as well, and we received like over 200 questions in like a couple of minutes, and obviously there was not enough time to answer all of these questions during the AMA. So we have recorded all of these questions and analyzed them, and I have selected some of them and grouped them into several different categories, and I would like to go over them today and answer some of them and also talk about, in general, some of the things that people often ask during AMAs and in our community. Of course, it will not be as detailed answers as possible, and obviously many of these questions are rather vast and deep and can take a lot of time to really talk about, and probably we will do so in our next videos. However, I would like to provide an overview of these questions and answer some of them at least to some detail. So if we take a look at the groups, like the first group of question is, what is BIM? So a lot of people are either not familiar with our project or just heard a few things. And basically I think the question that kind of illustrates this is this, like, what is the main motto? Can you explain in a couple of minutes what BIM does? Another group of questions that often appears is more like technical questions about BIM technology, like how Bim Privacy works. And these can range from how Mimblewimble works, or how is it possible to verify the blockchain when you don't see any amounts in it? How do you know there was like no bugs or hidden emission there? And also it can include questions like, for example, are your wallets secure? Have you been audited? And so on. The third group of questions is usually about staking or yield farming. And this is, of course, very reasonable since we have started talking about confidential DeFi. A lot of activity in DeFi today is around either staking or yield farming or somehow receiving some passive income by providing liquidity to some protocols. And we'll talk about this as well. A lot of people are also asking about the challenges that we're currently facing or have been facing during our almost 3 years already of development. And this is also something that I would like to discuss today. So obviously there are a lot of difficulties and a lot of interesting problems that we have to solve. So I think it's something that is worth discussing today as well. Obviously, most of the questions focus around our roadmap, our plans, our strategic plans, what we intend to do this year or in the following years, and like what would we like to achieve eventually. And I think this is also very important to discuss. And the last group of questions that we have found is the questions about adoption, about the community, our ambassador program. How do we intend to attract more users or investors or customers or partnerships? And so these questions appear quite a lot in AMAs and in our community, and we will talk about that as well. So let's get started with the first group, which is, what is BIM? And in few words, BIM is a confidential cryptocurrency that wants to be as practical as possible. And practical here is a very loaded word, because we believe that cryptocurrency, in order to be used in real world by both people, individuals and organizations, needs to be or have at least the following set of properties. So it definitely needs to be decentralized because that's the nature of cryptocurrency and one of the most important characteristics. It definitely needs to be private because we believe that privacy is not only the essential human right, but it's also very important in any kind of financial operations. So it definitely needs to be censorship resistant. And in fact, that means that whoever decides on which transactions go into which block should not be really able to decide to exclude certain transactions or slow them down or block them completely. And we all see today how censorship resistance is very important across many different areas, and it's definitely important in finance. It should be scalable, both in terms of transaction per second and also in terms of the blockchain size, the amount of information you need to download and verify before you can start participating in the system. It definitely needs to be usable, and we know that there are a lot of problems with usability in the crypto world. It's very different from what people are used to in other financial applications, instruments, or services. And also the idea that you are responsible for your own keys and your own funds also brings with it a lot of responsibility, a lot of difficulties in keeping those keys, in operating these wallets. Any mistake you make is irreversible, in fact, or almost irreversible. And you need to be very careful what you're doing. So usability is definitely one of the major aspects of practicality. Smart contracts, in fact, are a great addition to just the ability of sending funds from point A to point B, because they allow very interesting and diverse world of financial applications to be built on top of blockchains and using blockchains. So, of course, we would love to have that as well. We really need a lot of different APIs to make this cryptocurrency integrated into the existing world, whether it's APIs for exchanges or any service providers such as stores and whoever is using your cryptocurrency to receive payments. And obviously, we also need APIs for developers that can extend and improve the applications that you have provided or the platform that you have provided or created for them. Because if it's just like standalone, this absolutely closed ecosystem, it's obviously less interesting than when you provide possibility for extension for different people with different needs. So we would love a lot of APIs for that. We really would love to be able to create multiple different assets on our blockchain, because having just one asset is great, but when you can create several different assets, as we saw with Ethereum and many other blockchains, really allows you to create new types of transactions and support a lot of interesting new use cases, whether it's synthetic assets that represent some existing assets in the real world, or whether it's like tokenization, some assets that have never been tokenized before, like real estate or gold or whatever. So this is actually brings a lot of new use cases for this cryptocurrency that allows that. And interoperability is the ability to move value from one chain to another. And we recently saw kind of an explosion in this research and development in this area, because people have realized that instead of developing like these standalone silos of value which do not communicate with each other, it would be much better to be able to move value from one chain to another and use the specific abilities of each chain, whether it's fast transactions or privacy or any other additional capability that it brings, without losing the original value. And I think the most prominent example of this is wrapped Bitcoin on Ethereum, because people who own Bitcoin don't want to lose the value of Bitcoin from one hand, and on the other hand, they do want to participate in all of the DeFi ecosystem trading and AMM-based exchanges and all the lending platforms and provide liquidity for those. So wrapped Bitcoin allows them to do exactly that. And of course, we have blockchains like Polkadot, which are built with interoperability in mind from the get-go, like by design. And we see that going very well and also developing very rapidly. And there are going to be a lot of interesting interoperability features that we will see in the future. And Bim is definitely would love to be interoperable with other blockchains as well. So these are the goals as we can outline them like very broadly. And this answers the question like what is Bim? So today we have some of that already on our mainnet, and we're also working on a different set. So let's take a look on exactly which features we have today, and we will map them to these 9 goals that we have, so we really understand which feature is actually addresses which of these goals. So as you know, Bim was launched on January 3rd, 2019, and our first features indeed included confidential transactions, which address privacy, and since we have been using the Mimblewimble protocol, also scalability in terms of the blockchain size, since Mimblewimble provides a very effective way of compacting the blockchain so that you only need to download a minimal amount of information to connect a new node. And these confidential transactions were integrated into a desktop UI wallet that was launched together with the blockchain during the mainnet launch in 2019. In order to make it decentralized, we have provided a mining infrastructure, including the mining algorithm, which is Bim Hash, a variation of Equihash at first, and now we have upgraded it twice already. Currently, the current version is Bim Hash 3, which is a completely new and novel algorithm, mineable on GPUs. And we have also worked with people who build mining software to create miners for our algorithm. And now currently you can download Bim mining software freely and start mining on your GPU farm. And of course, in order to mine Bim, you might want to use mining pool, because solo mining is quite difficult at current difficulty levels of the blockchain. So we have provided the mining pool API as well. And in fact, quite a lot of pools, I think about 20 pools today, support Bim, including NiceHash, where you can just buy hashing power. And in order to allow the wallets interact, because Mimblewimble is an interactive protocol, we have created SBBS, which is a secure bulletin board system, basically encrypted distributed messaging system built into all of our nodes. So you can send messages from one wallet to another and create transactions. So as you can see from the very beginning, we started addressing most of these goals of ours, including decentralization, usability, privacy, of course, scalability, APIs, and censorship resistance. Later that year, 2019, we have added also Android and iOS mobile wallets, and we have integrated payment proofs. So now, even though it's a completely confidential blockchain and all the transactions are confidential by default, you are able to prove to the other side that the payment indeed occurred by sending some of the information that both of you signed during the creation of the transaction, which is yet another interesting and nice feature of Mimblewimble protocol. And during the second half of 2018, we have started working on atomic swaps, which is an ability to exchange Bim for other cryptocurrencies. And currently we support Bitcoin, Litecoin, Quantum, Doge, and Dash. And later this year, we will also add Ethereum and, as I mentioned, some of the stable coins on Ethereum. And you are able to exchange them without any third party. So this addresses the censorship resistance part and also the privacy part, because there is no KYC. And you can do that either using our built-in Atomic Swap Marketplace, which is available inside our UI wallet for desktop right now, because you need to be integrated with either Electrum or your local Bitcoin or other currency nodes. And you can also send the swap data directly to the other person to do a direct swap with somebody else if you want to do that. So both options are supported. And of course, we also provide the wallet API, which allows you to integrate our wallets to any external service, such like as Exchange, for example, or if you are a service provider who wants to receive Bim in return for your services, you can also do that using either direct API integration, and we also provide some infrastructure for that on our GitHub, or you can use it through coin payments or some other platforms that we're integrated with. Moving on to 2020, last year, we have added quite a few new functions to our blockchain. The first one is LaserBeam, which is an ability to create direct payment channels between Beam wallets, something a little bit similar to how Lightning Network direct payment channels work. And this allows you to run a lot of quick transactions with instant confirmation, and then eventually at the end of the period settle on chain. So this addresses both the privacy and the scalability aspects of our goals. We've also added an ability to create confidential assets on top of Beam blockchain. And this is built-in function in our node, so it does not require writing a new smart contract, auditing it, and so on. So this addresses the multi-currency or multi-asset part of the blockchain. And of course, all of these new assets are completely confidential by default. And even the type of the asset that you are trading is hidden. So when you receive a transaction, not only the amount is encrypted and there are no addresses in Bulletin at all, and in Beam, but also the type of the asset is also not known to someone who is looking at the transaction from the outside. We have also enabled during the last hard fork, which was in June, Lilantos Wimble protocol, which is the combination of Lilantos protocol developed by Zcoin, formerly now called Firo, and Wimble, which is our basic protocol from the beginning. And using this hybrid approach, we were able to implement three interesting features. The first one is offline transactions. Since, as I mentioned, Wimble originally was an interactive protocol, and it was not possible to just send funds from one person to another by knowing the address without the receiver having to be online. So using this approach, now you can do that. You can receive an offline address and send funds whenever you like without communicating with the receiver again. And we have also added max privacy transactions, which are a special kind of transaction that uses the Lilantos shielded pool to completely break the linkability and provide anonymity set size up to 64K. So it takes longer to complete this transaction, but this transaction is completely unlinkable in any way, and you can decide which anonymity set size you want for it. Another interesting feature that we have added is public offline address, which is usable in case, for example, you want to receive donations and you want to publish some single address on your website, so anyone who wants to donate you some Beam can use it. It's a little bit less secure because the sender can know when the receiver spent the funds, but other than that, once again, all the amounts are encrypted, no additional identifying information, except of course for the identity of the receiver, because this address is published somewhere, is known. So this is also a very good addition, which is enabled by Lilantos Wimble hybrid protocol. Which brings us to this year, 2021. And this year, in addition, of course, to these 5.2 and 5.3 releases that will close our kind of previous year roadmap with mobile node and with atomic swaps with Ethereum, all of these new features are based on BeamX, which is our currently running experimental testnet. You can go to our website and download it and play with it. And the most important thing about BeamX is the addition of Beam Virtual Machine, which is based on the WebAssembly technology, and Beam Shaders, which are our version of smart contracts that run on this virtual machine. So Beam Shaders run both inside the node to provide the smart contract functionality and also inside our wallets to provide a convenient API for communicating with these contracts. Since creating Wimble transaction is a complicated procedure, requires a lot of encryption and signatures in the process, in order to simplify this process, we have created a special version of these contracts that run inside the wallets. And they, in turn, allow creation of decentralized applications that can run inside Beam Wallet integrated. And this is how we will create a dApp store, as you can see, which will allow anyone to create decentralized application and then publish them and use them directly in our wallets, and of course communicate with the smart contracts that are running on chain. Also, we will integrate the multi-asset functionality into the wallet so that you can sell, buy, and trade any confidential asset that is running on the Beam chain inside the wallet using this kind of a DEX experience without having to go into external services. And we will also integrate this into our upcoming web wallet that will use this new mobile node functionality, so it will be completely decentralized without any centralized service components, even though they're trustless. We will just use the Bim web wallet and allow it to also integrate with Metamask or any other Ethereum wallet that you're using, so that the experience for moving assets from one chain to another will be as simple and as usable as possible. And so this, I believe, kind of answers like first three groups of questions, such as what is Bim and how Bim works, and also a little bit about staking and yield farming on Bim, which of course will be possible once we have smart contracts and applications that are using them. Which brings us to the next group of questions about the challenges that we're facing. And of course, we're facing a lot of them, and not only in our technical work, as we're developing a lot of new functionality and doing it very quickly, but also and especially in marketing and adoption and awareness about what we're doing. And of course, we need all the help we can get here from our community and our ambassadors. Since the space is very crowded, Bim is not very, let's say, open to short-term speculation. We have a lot of more like strategic and long-term goals. And that, of course, will become, we believe, much more usable when we have smart contracts running on our platform. And we do believe that there is a lot of need for confidentiality, privacy in general, and especially in the new DeFi ecosystem, and we will provide that during 2021. Having said that, we still have to find the way to create more noise about the great stuff that we're building. And this also is related to the adoption questions of how we attract community and investors and users to our platform. So we do have a great ambassador program, and we have a lot of great people in our many different communities, and we have a global community and local communities in India and Africa, which are very active, and in many other places as well. So obviously, any one of you watching this video can join, ask questions, learn about what we're doing, use it, and try to contribute by either promoting our project, giving us advice about things that you think are needed or are missing in our current implementations. And even though we're doing a lot of work, we believe quite a lot of things can be improved and added further. So basically, any feedback will be very welcome. And you will see that our communities are very active. We have a great community on Telegram, and also we have one on Discord. And we also, of course, welcome any bugs or issues that you find with our software. And you can either send it to the community or directly to us via email or open an issue on GitHub. We do have a lot of problems with documentation because since we're developing very fast, it's quite difficult to do this and at the same time provide organized documentation, especially now that we're building a platform and we're trying to attract developers. So we do try to have hackathons, and we try to document our APIs and what we're doing. However, obviously, these things can be improved, and we do offer bounties for all of these tasks. So if you are willing to help, you can just contact us, and we will figure a way to provide some kind of bounty for documenting our applications, and it will be a great help, obviously. And so to sum things up, we believe that 2021 will be a year of a lot of interesting developments in Bim, and we will have a hard fork somewhere in Q2 that will add a lot of new functionality, including smart contracts and confidential asset support in UI wallet. So Bim will become not just a great privacy coin, but also an ecosystem that will allow creating a lot of interesting applications, such as confidential stablecoins, for example, AMM-based exchanges. And of course, we're also working on the bridges that will allow to move value between chains and thus provide the liquidity for those applications. If you are interested in privacy and the blockchain, do follow our project, subscribe to our channel, join our communities. And we believe a lot of great news are coming this year. In the meantime, thank you for watching this. Have a great day and see you soon.